Okay, good morning, Yidden. We are going back to the Gemara. We are on Kuvav Amud Aleph. So the Gemara told us a scenario in the last page about someone who comes home and has one cup of wine, and he has to make Havdalah, but he also has a meal to be eaten, and he's following the view that says that every single time you do Birchat Hamazon, you have to have a cup of wine. So he has two mitzvahs. He has the benching, he has to hold a cup of wine, he has the Havdalah. What does he do? And the Gemara told us that he can delay his Havdalah and combine his Havdalah with his benching into one cup of wine, right? Which meant that he would do the brach, the benching, hold a cup of wine, and go straight into Havdalah. Right? That's what we discussed that scenario. Yeah, remember this? Somewhat remember this? Yeah. What's a Shabbos? He comes home, he has to bench and make Havdalah. He's one cup of wine for both. And the Gemara there said that this scenario teaches us a bunch of laws. That if you don't have enough wine, you can combine two mitzvahs.
I thought you said a bunch of lies.
Bunch, what did I say?
I thought you were going to say a bunch of lies.
This line teaches us a bunch of laws. If you don't have enough wine, you can combine two mitzvahs. If you have enough wine, you have to separate the two, right? And we learned that once you taste a little bit, the wine is pogum. We discussed that at length, because otherwise you'd be able to drink a little bit and then use the rest of it for the next cup. It also told us you have to have a cup of wine, even though you made benching in your Havdalah. Hold on, 8 laws, the Gemara said, are derived from that little case. And from there, the Gemara went on a discussion about the pogum to start with. And then, I'm not sure why actually it came up here, but then at this point, the Gemara got to the essence of where Kiddush comes from, citing to the verse, where the verse says you have to make mention of the Shabbos to sanctify it. And from there we derived with the Kiddush night and the Kiddush day, and that was our tangent on the Kiddush day. Now the Gemara comes back to have the question of Havdalah, and the Gemara discusses someone who forgets to make Havdalah on Saturday night, which had come up earlier also actually about someone forgetting to make Kiddush on Friday night. Remember that? Someone forgetting to make Kiddush Friday night, he can make Kiddush all day until the end of Shabbos. Okay. So now the Gemara comes back to the discussion. It's one little paragraph where the Gemara discusses someone forgets to make Havdalah, and then we're going to get to the Shulchan Aruch. It's chapter 299. We did the first half of 299. You have the booklet there in front of you, and you can see the title of the chapter 299 is to neither eat, drink, nor perform any work before reciting Havdalah. So we covered the neither eat, drink part, right? That was someone who comes home, extending the meal, right? Remember that we discussed that. If you began your meal early enough, you're allowed to extend it, and how you're allowed to extend it, and so on. So that was part 1. The next part's going to be of this. That was halacha 1 through 7. Then 8, and I think 9 as well, is going to be someone who forgot to make Havdalah. That's going to come as a result of today's Gemara, which we will learn after we learn today's Gemara. Halacha 8 and 9, maybe 10 as well, actually. Okay, the next few halachas are going to be like that. And then the rest of the chapter is going to be about not doing work before you make Havdalah, which we'll learn it also just for the sake of completing the entire chapter of Shulchan Aruch here. Yeah, so that's our plan today. Paragraph of Gemara and then the Shulchan Aruch. So let's begin. Bottom of Kuv Vav Amud Aleph, bottom of 106a. From the bottom of the page, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines to the bottom of the page. The beginning of the line, which says me. See it? Shabbos. One who did not do Havdalah on Saturday night. Now, if I stopped you here, tell me the story. Tell me the case. What did he do? What didn't he do? He didn't do it Saturday night at all. So did he make Havdalah in his bench, in his davening? Or not even that? Or is it specifically referring to Havdalah on the cup of wine? Right? Not sure. Right? The Gemara doesn't say so. correct? It would seem Lo Havdil, period, even Havdalah on davening. But I'm going to argue, and we'll see how this plays out in the Shulchan Aruch. I'm going to argue that I think it's talking about even someone who did Havdalah in Ma'ariv, but didn't do so on the cup of wine, which would explain why the Gemara inserted it here after the Gemara asserted earlier that Havdalah, even if it's performed in Ma'ariv, still requires to be done again on a cup of wine.
I mean, that just makes sense because if he wouldn't have done Havdalah and Maariv, wouldn't have done that,
Yeah.
then all the laws of Shabbos would still apply to him. And
okay, so let's say
Shabbos for anything he does would be a much
let's
serious
say,
crime.
Let's say
That would be a much serious crime.
Okay, so let's say why can't the Gemara be discussing that more serious issue?
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just putting that out there. Yeah. At any rate, Misha Lev the Motzei Shabbos, one who didn't make Havdalah Motzei Shabbos. Actually, she go back. It says, Amri b'nei Rabbi Chia. The children of Rabbi Chia said, Misha Lev the Motzei Shabbos, one who did not make Havdalah Motzei Shabbos, Mavdul b'Ha'iluk b'chol HaShabbos kulei. Can keep on going and making Havdalah all week long. Then the Gemara asks, this was a statement by what we had earlier. Right? This was a statement we had earlier, that one who forgot to make Kiddush can make Kiddush all Shabbos long, and one who forgot to make Havdalah can make Havdalah all week long. We had that statement already earlier. Now the Gemara is adding more detail. Namely, the ad kama. How much? What do you mean how much? You just said the whole week. Okay, well the question is, when does the week start with regard to Havdalah? And when does it end? What's still considered the whole week? I think that's how we asked this question. Well, it starts Saturday, but how far down into the week does it go?
3 days.
Rashi, sorry?
3 days.
Yeah, let's see. So let's explain why.
Yeah, we have to always keep in mind the reverse engineering, right?
That's right.
Can't infuse what we know.
Onto the Gemara.
Yeah.
Because what we know comes from the Gemara.
I know.
Yes. So the Gemara says, Vatkam Rabbi Zeta says, Ad Ravi Shabbos until Wednesday. How did it get to Wednesday? Kihad Yosef Rabbi Zeta Kamed Rav Asi, just as it was where Rav Zeta sat in the presence of Rav Asi. Others say it was Rav Asi Kamed Rav Yochanan, Rav Asi sitting in the presence of Rav Yochanan. Yosef Ka'amar. And he was sitting and saying the following. Inyan Gitin, with respect to a divorce, Chada b'Shabbata, the first day of the week, Terei v'Tlasa, the second and third day of the week, Basa Shabbata is considered after Shabbos. Meaning like this. If someone gives a divorce bill to his wife, and he says, on condition, as this is where Rashbam explains it to us, he says, on condition that I'm going to give you $100 after Shabbos. So what constitutes as after Shabbos? So he says, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is considered after Shabbos. Wednesday's already too far gone from after Shabbos to say that I'm giving it to you after Shabbos. It's already too late. If I say I'm giving it to you next week, it's all week. But if I say I'm giving it to you after Shabbos, it's got to be at some point it's still linked to Shabbos. Unless he says it goes Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Chada, Terei v'Tlasa. First day of the week, second and third. Arba v'Chamisha, Wednesday and Thursday, fourth day and the fifth day. Umal Yoma and Erev Shabbos. Kamei Shabbata, that would be before Shabbos. So if I say, here's his bill of divorce on condition that I give you $100 before Shabbos, or I say I'm going to give you $100 just prior to Shabbos, then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday counts. So therefore, extrapolating from this halacha, the same applied to Havdalah. Because all of this is still considered after Shabbos,
Makes sense.
you can still make Havdalah up until that point. That's the point here. By the way, on Wednesday, in our Shir Shal Yom, we say L'chon Rana. Right? We say L'chon Rana. The song of the day on Wednesday is L'chon Rana in preparation for Shabbos. Because as per this idea here, that Wednesday already begins prior to Shabbos. So like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you're still basking in the glory of the Shabbos that passed. And Wednesday, you start to prepare for the Shabbos coming forward. And therefore, you can make Havdalah on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Good morning. Yeah.
If you forget to say this Havdalah
Yeah.
Saturday, and you prolong it to Monday night, then Monday night. And if you're driving Monday, are you desecrating the Shabbos?
We're going to get to all of that. And the Shulchan Aruch, we're going to get to that, but this gets to Noah's point. We're going to get to that in the Shulchan Aruch, yeah. That's why I was putting it on the table as to which Havdalah we're talking about. Yes. Okay, Amar Rav Bar Idi, Yaakov son of Idi says, last line, Avaloi al ha'or. Even if you're going to be making Havdalah on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, because the person missed it on Saturday night, Kufav Mad Aleph, last line. Right at the bottom.
Okay.
Avaloi al ha'or, not on the light. The bracha b'yom eish that we make on candles is only on Saturday night. And as Rashbam says it, the reason is because light was created on Saturday night. One of the reasons why we make b'yom eish, the bracha on fire, on Motzei Shabbos is because that's when fire was created, on Saturday night. And therefore, only Saturday night can one make the bracha of b'yom eish, even if he's going to be making Havdalah later. This ends the Gemara's discussion on making Havdalah late. So now we'll go to the Shulchan Aruch. Sorry, what do you want to say? No, that's it. We're going to go to the Shulchan Aruch and you can comment. Okay, no comment here. Let's see from the Shulchan Aruch if we can get anything on that. Yeah. Okay, let's look at the Shulchan Aruch. Because the next part of the Gemara is going to be on another issue, which is eating before making Havdalah or after Havdalah and so on. Okay. Ches. So it's halacha ches in the Shulchan Aruch in chapter 299. Right? Reish Tzadik Tes. Iker mitzvahs Havdalah balayla. The primary mitzvah of Havdalah is at night. Which is an interesting phrasing.
Saturday night or at night?
Saturday. So
Oh,
seemingly Saturday night, right? But it's an interesting phrasing, meaning it's not like the reason why I think he's saying like this, because we already have this principle that if you can, you may extend Shabbos. Right? Remember, we discussed this. You have two conflicting principles simultaneously. On the one hand, you want to demonstrate that you love the Shabbos and therefore you're delaying Havdalah. On the other hand, the moment of obligation rests upon you, you have to do it. That was our conflict, remember? And therefore, if you begin your meal early enough and your meal extends up to Shabbos, no problem, you can delay it. Right? So when it comes to Friday night, it's not just Iker mitzvah balayla, the primary mitzvah of Shabbos of Kiddush is at night. The primary mitzvah is to do it as soon as possible. With Havdalah, it's not exactly the same thing to say the primary mitzvah is to do it as soon as possible. No, you can delay Shabbos because you love the Shabbos. But the primary mitzvah is still to be doing it at night when Shabbos is out. Even though hypothetically the person maybe is extending his Shabbos all the way till Tuesday. Hypothetically. But we'll see why it's a little bit difficult. Okay. So Iker mitzvah Havdalah, the phrasing is interesting. The primary mitzvah of Havdalah is at night, it's Saturday night. Shachach, if you forgot. Or hazed, or intentionally. Even intentionally. Lo hivdil b'leil Motzei Shabbos, saying do not make Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos, Saturday night. He should do so the next day during the daytime. Doesn't have to wait till the night. Okay, let's look at 39. Let's look at the footnote 39. Yeah, footnote 39. Okay, so he says there, like ibid, as in like, above the sources, which is from footnote 38, where he says psachim, it's our Gemara. Yeah. Compared to section 271.16 with regard to Kiddush, there are many. So with regard to Kiddush, a person forgets to make Kiddush and can do so all Shabbos, which we mentioned in the Gemara. We're going to discuss when we get to that long chapter we've been talking about. Okay, so there are many halakhic authorities who maintain that the leniency of reciting Havdalah on subsequent days is not granted when one purposely did not recite Havdalah on Saturday night.
That's without intention.
But the Alter Rebbe wrote even if it was intentional.
No, I'm saying it has to be like you didn't do it on purpose.
No, the Alter Rebbe says even if you did it on purpose.
So you know so even if you did not,
even if you missed it on purpose, yeah.
What I'm asking here is, for example, if somebody forgot to make Havdalah,
yes,
and as a result,
he makes Havdalah the next day.
That's right.
The Alter Rebbe is saying even if you intentionally skipped Havdalah on Saturday night.
That's intentionally the story though.
Yeah, no, so he's saying even intentionally, if you skipped Havdalah, you can do it the next day.
Nobody. Yeah, well, Levi's saying it's the same. Whether you forgot
or you intentionally skipped it Saturday night, the law remains in. So other halakhic authorities disagree. The Alter Rebbe is being here lenient that even if you intentionally forgot it,
So Alter Rebbe is even more lenient than.
correct. Correct. That's right.
Thank you.
So that's exactly right. So he gives the sources, Stei Chemed, Asifas Dinim, Marachas Hei. So, sorry, Stei Chemed, Asifas Dinim, Meseches, Marachas Hei, section 15 explains that the Alter Rebbe is following the approach of Rambam, who equates Kiddush and Havdalah, where even if I intentionally forgot to do a Kiddush on Friday night, I still have to make Kiddush the next day because the obligation is still there.
Right, but it's not really, you can't intentionally forget. You might, maybe you skipped it
I
and then
skipped
you
it.
regret.
I skipped
So
it and
you-
decided the next day. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, continue. See also the gloss of Rabbi Akiva Iger in the Shulchan Aruch of Rabbi Yosef Cairo. Rabbi Yosef Cairo Shulchan Aruch. We learned about that on Shabbos afternoon. Rabbi Akiva Iger, one of the great scholars of the last 150 years, who wrote a gloss on the Shulchan Aruch, and he who explains that a similar ruling also applies if one did not recite Havdalah on the day following a festival, meaning not just after Shabbos, but also after Yom Tif. Birkei Yosef, his gloss of Orach Chaim, differs. Lakatzion and Varus maintains that by speaking about failing to recite Havdalah on Saturday night, the Alter Rebbe implies that the leniency is granted only Saturday night and not on the night following the festival. The Alter Rebbe writes, Shachach oy heziv l'hivdu b'leil Motzei Shabbos, one who forgot or purposely skipped Havdalah on Saturday night rather than saying after Shabbos or Yom Tif. So he therefore says it's only for Shabbos. Maybe.
Mental sensitivity.
Yeah. Others have maintained that this conclusion is not necessarily implied. The Alter Rebbe may have used this wording because he is writing specifically about the laws of Havdalah on Saturday night, but not because it's exclusive to Saturday night, but because it happens to be that these are talking about Saturday night. Anyway,
And why would it be just solely for Saturday night?
why would it be solely for Saturday night? Maybe because of the Gemara's implication. Maybe because of the Gemara's implication. I don't know. But maybe because of the Gemara's language, the Gemara says what's considered after Shabbos. And after Shabbos is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I don't know if you can apply the same logic to after Yom Tif. But maybe.
Yeah.
Meaning, let's say it this way. Imagine if Yom Tif ends Thursday night. Would after Yom Tif count also till Sunday? That's within 3 days, even though Shabbos broke up in between? Not necessarily. But Sunday, Monday, Tuesday has the same extension. I'm just making up. I have no idea. Just suggesting, perhaps. Go ahead. You can think about it.
Wednesday we start thinking of Shabbos.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's an extension into the week from Shabbos, and that's why maybe one would argue that it's exclusively for Motzei Shabbos, where you can do Havdalah later.
It could be.
But again, others
Yom Tov
maintain
and
that it's
Kol
Yom
Hamoed,
Tif too.
yeah.
Sorry?
The Kol Hamoed would be similarity to.
Where there's an extension, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So you have to look.
Anyway, this
Yeah.
is-
Speculation. No, very good. Okay, continues. Now, then because he didn't make Havdalah yet, it's forbidden for him to taste anything, except for water, until he makes Havdalah. Just as it is by nighttime, which again implies we're talking about Havdalah on the cup, even though you do Havdalah in Ma'ariv. Because even when you do Havdalah in Ma'ariv, we already learned earlier, you may not eat until you do Havdalah on the cup, even though you've done Havdalah in Ma'ariv. So here too, he forgot to make Havdalah, even if he made Havdalah in his cup, in his Ma'ariv.
Meyer or Benji?
He made the Havdalah in Ma'ariv. He did Havdalah in Ma'ariv because he added Atachal Tanah.
Yeah, synagogue.
He parted Havdalah, not Ritzei or Yalav Yavai. He added Havdalah to his Ma'ariv and Atachal Tanah, and yet he's still obligated to make Havdalah on the cup, and therefore he's forbidden to eat or drink anything until he does so. And therefore, even if he forgot Saturday night or he didn't on purpose, didn't do Havdalah, then he may not eat until tomorrow, Sunday, when he does Havdalah. Right?
They all mentioned Saturday. They all mentioned Havdalah at night. You do Havdalah drink the next day.
Yeah.
So that's the point here.
Yeah.
If you forgot or didn't do it, you have to do it the next day. But the same law which says you may not eat or drink until you make Havdalah at night will then extend to this person who's doing Havdalah on Sunday. He's not allowed to eat until he makes Havdalah, whether that's Sunday or Monday.
And that's even if you did Havdalah in the Meyer.
I'm understanding this to mean even if you did Havdalah in Ma'ariv.
The next question is, does Havdalah from a synagogue count? Basically,
Sure. No, Havdalah from a synagogue would count. I don't see why not. Havdalah from a synagogue counts. I don't see why not.
I'll answer no, man.
It's not like Kiddush where you have to make Kiddush in the place where you eat. Havdalah doesn't require that. You don't have to have a, we'll discuss that in the Gemara soon, but you don't have to have a meal associated with your Havdalah.
So you're saying, okay.
So Havdalah and Shul is perfectly fine. Yeah. That continues. If a person forgot or intentionally Achal Kodim Havdalah, decided to eat before Havdalah. Said, I don't care, I'm eating anyway. So Tzarech Lahavsik Miyad V'Lahavdil. As soon as he either remembers or he regrets, he has to break his meal and make Havdalah. Just like a person who would have been started eating on Saturday night. We discussed earlier that if he didn't start his meal properly, he has to stop in the middle of his meal and make Havdalah, which is going to be linked to the next Gemara we're going to be learning. Ta Mavdil, right? We have this idea that if a person starts eating, he makes Havdalah right away and doesn't have to necessarily wait till his meal is over. Right? Okay.
Like what you do with Kiddush.
Sorry? Similar to Kiddush.
Falls upon you.
Where you cover your bread and make Havdalah. That's correct. Similar. That's why these things are linked. Yeah.
So you make Havdalah anytime during that.
You're supposed to make it as,
Till Tuesday.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Tuesday, if you wait Monday, Tuesday you realize that you wait and do Havdalah right away.
Yeah. But also the way he says it here is, he's still maintaining you have to do it as early as possible. Because he doesn't say if you forgot it Saturday night, you have until Wednesday to do it. He says you forgot Saturday night, do it Sunday in the morning. Now, then he says, if you still didn't do it on Sunday, you have to do it on Monday. And before you eat. Emotion is bar b'yam just as we explained on day 1. And same thing is true until the end of day 3. So it's not like he's saying, you have till Wednesday. No. You have to do it Saturday night. You didn't do it Saturday night? Okay, do it on Sunday. And do it before you eat on Sunday.
It's very weird.
You forgot you ate, make a bell right away. Okay, you didn't do it Sunday. Monday also, do so right before you eat. So he's being lenient, but he's not telling you have carte blanche until Tuesday, right?
Within a frame.
Correct. He's telling you each time, do it right away. You ate, stop, do it. You didn't, okay, do it before you eat. Okay, you ate, stop and do it. Right? As opposed to like, oh, you have to just wait this till Tuesday, you can do it. Because not really. Follow that the phrasing is interesting that way.
There's urgency.
There's a certain urgency. Correct. What do you want to say? Something?
No,
But it's so different than everybody else, which gives a sensitivity to it, and understanding. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The intentionally part is like a little weird, no?
The what part?
Like intentionally. It's like,
yeah, the ultimate being lenient, even
why?
if you intention. I assume the reason is because even if you, in other words, a person, let's say a person woke up in the morning. Like, let's imagine it this way: a guy took a cup of coffee and decided, I don't know, I'm not making a bracha today. And halfway through his coffee, he looks at himself and says, "What are you doing?"
right.
So what are we gonna tell him? Oh, because you didn't make a bracha at the beginning of the coffee, you can't make a bracha now.
No, but that's what I'm
Make a
saying.
bracha now, right?
Like,
So Havdalah is the same kind of that's the way we're looking at Havdalah.
but that's
You have an
what-
obligation of Havdalah always. Just because you intentionally skipped it, so long as the obligation still exists, meaning until Wednesday, you have to take it as soon as you decide you have to do it.
Right, but that's like obvious. So why even mention it? This is the first
Well,
time. no,
because
that
it
they
could be-
mention,
it could be like-
intentionally.
Okay, because
forgot.
one could argue,
If I didn't put on tefillin today, then
okay,
tomorrow.
that's the question. For example, a person decides he doesn't want to blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah.
Okay.
Blowing shofar the day after Rosh Hashanah is not going to help him because the mitzvah is over. Or Shema, once time passed. So when does a time pass where Havdalah is gone? And that's the point. So Havdalah is not gone until after Shabbos is not
No,
gone.
I understand
And
that
after
part.
Shabbos
If
goes
you
till Tuesday.
forgot, you have until Tuesday.
Exactly.
I don't
Exactly.
understand if
Because
you
the mitzvah still
intentionally
exists.
forgot.
So even if you intentionally did so, because just like a person who intentionally didn't decide not to hear shofar in the morning, he still has to hear shofar until Shabbos is over. Similar kind of thing.
Rabbi, I want to ask you though, you want to ask something first, you sure.
No, go ahead, Richard. No.
It's quite remarkable. And for me to understand this in this way is basically to say that the Yid's better nature is to want to make Havdalah, but
Yeah.
don't do it intentionally. So it's like a few laws that we have that what you get basically is you're touching the soul of the person rather than
Yeah.
the ego.
We're not going to penalize you because you acted like a fool for a few minutes. You can still do it. It's okay.
But your soul like
As soon as you-
nature would want
That's
you
right.
to do
As
it.
soon as you start to come back, go for it. Do your obligation.
I would imagine that would be the reason.
Yeah.
As you said before about you drink the coffee.
Sorry, yeah. Go ahead.
I said before that you drink the coffee, 10 minutes later you forgot the bracha. Say it. Did you say that?
Yeah,
As
what?
long, as long as there's still coffee.
As long as you
While
still
you're
have coffee
still
left in your cup, you
drinking
can still make a bracha.
Like if he finishes all that coffee, then there's nothing left to make a bracha.
Guys, I want you to see footnote 41.
Same thing.
Let's look at footnote 41. This is an important footnote from the Rebbe. the second paragraph there. In Likutei Sichos, volume 31, page 104, the Rebbe explains that although the fundamental time for the recitation of Havdalah Saturday night, reciting the subsequent days does not merely serve as compensation for failing to recite it at its proper time. Instead, the time for Havdalah itself extends until Tuesday of the following week. So it's literally like, it's not just the technical halakha doesn't change, but the Rebbe is giving us a framework to understand it. It's like you still have coffee in your cup. And therefore, so long as you still have coffee in your cup, the obligation for the bracha of shakal still exists. So long as Rosh Hashanah is still in effect, your obligation for shofar exists. So long as it's Tuesday, your obligation for Havdalah exists. Even though you're supposed to do it Saturday night, it's not like it's a make-up Havdalah. The mitzvah of Havdalah still exists for you.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
Follow?
Yeah.
So, but it also it empowers you to understand that in some form, Shabbos still exists until Tuesday. And then once Wednesday hit, the next Shabbos begins to exist. So there's a whole week when Shabbos exists, either last Shabbos or the new Shabbos.
Tuesday would be tomorrow.
Oh, good question. Yeah. So look in where's the footnote? Footnote 42.
Until probably sundown, no?
Where it
Because
says
Wednesday.
that's right, 42, i.e. sunset, according to the approach of the Alter Rebbe.
Tomorrow.
Till sunset, yeah. Which is a little earlier actually.
Okay, a little before, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue.
Right.
Sorry?
Right.
Yeah, sunset.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, Saturday night's supposed to do it, and he's supposed to do it every time at the earliest opportunity before he eats, and if he remembers in the middle of eating, stop eating the Havdalah, whether it's Sunday, Monday, or whatever. But from this point forward, from Tuesday sunset and onward, which is now already Wednesday, he can no longer make Havdalah. Because the first 3 days of the week are called days that are following Shabbos, as we learned in the Gemara. They are still considered as Motzei Shabbos. It's quite an extended Motzei Shabbos. It's quite the phrasing, right? I'm assuming this is partly we have to look up the Sikha where the Rebbe get, but I'm assuming this is where the Rebbe gets the idea from. The Alter Rebbe refers to 3 days as Motzei Shabbos. But the next 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, are called the days that precede the Shabbos to follow. And therefore already detached from the Shabbos before.
Funny, then Florida last year, first time we got into this place, I did Havdalah at the park. We smoke a lot more.
Okay, well, let's finish the Gemara here 1 second. Let's finish the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so now the next halakha here, number test, because this is again related directly to our Gemara. When a person does Havdalah on Sunday or going forward, he should only make Beri Piragafen. Again, we're talking about Havdalah on the cup. And the bracha of Havdalah. So notice, no spice, as we'll explain. He should not make a bracha on the light. Why? Because you only make the bracha over candles on Saturday night, which is when the flame was created. Right, that was the Rashbam. Through Adam Marishan. Commotion is bar b'simen reish ches tzaddik, as explained in chapter 298 of the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, the preceding chapter before this. We're looking at 299. So there he explains the laws of the candle, and there he explains that the candle was created on Saturday night by Adam Marishan. Why does Alter Rebbe have to add that's by Adam Marishan? Why don't you say it was created? I don't know. Just putting it out there. Why does it have to add that? Just say it was created Saturday night. Why created it Saturday night by Adam? I'm not sure. We'll have to look up 298 and see there more at length. I actually did look up that 298, the first chapter. I don't see much. Anyway, okay, let's continue. The same thing is true on the spices. The obligation to do so is only on Saturday night. Which is right near the exit of Shabbos. Okay, now here the answer. You should have the answer to this question. Why is Alter Rebbe to separate these two? Why does he? And look at the language carefully. Instead he didn't just say when you do. 1 second. Let me explain the question because I think you might have the answer correctly, but I want to explain the question first. when the Alter Rebbe says not to, he could have just said like this simply: when you do Havdalah on Sunday, Monday, don't say candle and psalmim. He doesn't phrase it that way. He says when you do it on Sunday, don't make the bracha on candle. But when it comes to psalmim, you aren't obligated to do it, right? Lo yitzrichu, you weren't obligated to make the psalmim. Why phrase it that way?
Because it's probably for two different reasons. And
That's
one
for
you
sure
can
true.
do
Sounds like
But
if you want.
It sounds like you
Yeah.
may. Why? Because you always may make a bracha on psalmim. Whenever you want, you're allowed to take some out of the thing and make a bracha.
It's not obligated.
It's just not obligated now. Which is why the Gemara didn't include that on the list of the things you don't have to do. Because if you want to take psalmim, take your psalmim out, no problem. But the candle you can't do because candle is exclusive to Saturday night, so you can't do it. For psalmim, okay, you could if you want to, but you're not obligated to do so because it's only connected to Saturday night when Shabbos is gone and your soul is pining for Shabbos. You sniff the psalmim to give your soul some life, right? As he says about achakach, but afterwards, once it's not at the exit of Shabbos anymore, it's no longer related. It's not connected to the cup of Havdalah you're making. Which is why at this point, because you have no obligation for psalmim, you could do psalmim if you want to, but you couldn't insert it between your bracha of hagafen and your bracha of Havdalah and drinking, right? So now it's like this: when you make hagafen, you have to drink right away. You're not allowed to make a break between a bracha and your food you're drinking, unless what you're saying is obligatory. So, for example, on Friday night we make hagafen and then we make a whole other bracha called kiddush, and then you drink. No problem, because that bracha is obligated. Normal Havdalah also, you're obligated now to do candle, psalmim, and Havdalah. So you make hagafen and then you read three other brachas before you drink your wine. But once you're doing it on Sunday morning or Monday morning, and now you're not obligated to psalmim, you're voluntarily doing it because you want to. So therefore, if you do so, you cannot do it between the Havdalah, between the cup and your Havdalah, because now you're inserting a bracha that you're not obligated to do as an interruption between your hagafen and your drinking. So you can do psalmim, but do so independently, not into your Havdalah. But candle you can't do at all because it's only connected to when it's on Saturday night. Okay, clear?
When it says fire was created on Saturday night, that means fire on earth.
So
Fire was consumed. Fire was created before.
you mean the sun? So right. So maybe that's why the Alter Rebbe says that the beginning of creation of fire by Adam Rishon was on Saturday night, as in God already had fire in the universe, but it was extracted by Adam Rishon on Saturday night. But let's look up 298 since you mentioned that. I'm just going back over here on my computer. I'll read it for you in English.
I was also thinking about
Sorry.
the spices and why only on Saturday night, because it's similar to like when a guest is departing or a loved one is departing from you, the moment it's happening is more
That's correct.
about than the next day.
That's right. Correct.
You're not as
That's right.
You're not as sad about it.
You already had a date. You already had a date to absorb the fact that Shabbos is over.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna take up something to revive you. So Saturday night, but that's right. Okay, so let's read how the Alter Rebbe phrases it in section 298, halacha 1, where he describes this idea of the Saturday night creation of fire. I'm going to read it in English. Every Saturday night, if a person possesses a candle, he must recite the blessing B'Demar Esh. If he possesses a candle, B'Demar Esh, which is praising God who created the lights of fire over the light of a candle. If a person does not possess a light on Saturday night, he does not need seek it out, like one must seek out objects with which to perform other mitzvahs, right? So if you don't have water for Yetziat Yadayim, there's a certain amount of effort you are required by halacha to travel, for example, to go find that water. You don't have to do that with candles, okay? Because the blessing was ordained merely to commemorate the creation of a fire on Saturday night, not because it's like an obligation, like you can't eat until you wash your hands or something. It's a commemoration of an event, and if you don't have it, okay, you don't have it. But if you have, make the bracha. Okay. On Saturday night of his existence, Adam, the first man, took 2 stones and struck them against each other, producing fire. True, this is what it means when it was discovered on Motzei Shabbos. True, we do not recite a blessing over other entities in commemoration of the time they were created. Nevertheless, since kindling a fire was forbidden on Shabbos and became permitted Saturday night, it is as if now it was created anew. Hence, a blessing is recited over it at the time of its creation. So it's a combination of two things. First of all, it was created at this point, and because you didn't have enjoyment of it, or you had enjoyment of it because you had candles burning that were pre-lit, but you weren't capable of lighting it, and now you're capable of lighting it, therefore you're making a bracha. Right?
So Shabbos,
No, Saturday.
No, Saturday night,
Saturday, okay.
right?
So it's because it wasn't because he created, because God created the fire.
It's because-
Fire was created by Adam.
It's because Adam discovered it,
That's right.
and because we aren't allowed to light it, and now we light it again, which is maybe explain why the Alter Rebbe added in 299 that the Saturday night it was created by Adam, because this person, let's assume he made Havdalah in his ma'ariv, but he forgets to make Havdalah in his cup. He's already allowed to light candles. He's right because he made Havdalah in his ma'ariv. He's allowed to light candles, but he still just has an obligation to do Havdalah, which is why he can't eat. Which means if he did Havdalah on Monday, it's already been 2 days when he's allowed to be lighting candles. It's only when you do it at the beginning of creation, when Adam did it, in that he struck stones together to make a fire, just like you mimicking Adam, who for 24 hours wasn't allowed to strike a flame, and now you are. But at this point, it's been 2 days later, you've been allowed to light flames. Maybe. Maybe. Maybe.
That could be right.
Yep. Yeah.
God already created.
Okay, sorry?
It has to be that way because God already created the fire before that. So it was
Yeah.
on behalf of Adam.
Yeah.
Well, it's maybe letting us like control it. For us, it's new. Because the fire, if not, it wasn't controlled, everything would just burn.
The Midrash that he was created on Friday, himself, the fear that he had, the darkness that first came, he thought it was the end of the universe. He that is existed.
The first time he saw,
So
So as a
result, this what that would actually recognize that in fact the darkness can be turned to light by the fire.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna learn. Okay, I'm gonna go further in this Shulchan Aruch. Tomorrow we'll see. I'm not sure how much of the next of the chapter in Shulchan Aruch is gonna be relevant to us. So I'm gonna look at that later today, Be'ez Hashem, and then we'll continue the Gemara. Okay, wonderful day, Yin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Situation. Someone's just not feeling well. It's happening to me now.
Perfectly fine. Comes up later in the chapter.
I didn't do Havdalah. This will happen. No, go back to normal.
Perfectly fine.
But I ate something.
Okay, so that's a different story. That feeling well is a different story. Yeah.